All right, guys. So I used to procrastinate a lot. Like, I was the guy that needed to do something, had a task, had a deadline. Let's say the first of the month was the deadline. And I was pushing it all the way till like the 29th or the 30th of the month before that. And that's when I started to work on it. When I was at school and we had assignments and stuff like that and deadlines, I was always working on it the night before I had to hand it in. And it actually was the same thing in business when I first started doing online business and trying to make money online. It was the same exact thing for me in all realms of my life, pretty much. And I have found a solution for that. A lot of people talk about different things, how to stop procrastinating, how to start working, trying to motivate you, give you pep talks. But in reality, I believe that it's such a huge issue, but it all stems from within. If you procrastinate, it's because something is wrong inside. It's either insecurities or you place too much importance on the tasks that you're trying to do, or you're too harsh on yourself, or it's a mix of all three. There's many different reasons, but it all comes from within. It all stems from you. So when you don't want to do a task, it's basically like a fight or flight effect, a fight or flight, a reflex or whatever it's called, instinct. That's basically all it is, because your brain is just afraid of doing that task. And even though you're not like, I don't know, in real serious physical danger, it conceives and perceives the task that you're trying to do as physical danger. And the same red lights go off in your brain and the same chemistry happens in your brain. So in order to avoid procrastinating and stop procrastinating, you just need to avoid those red lights going off in your brain and your brain thinking that it's basically hard and that it's a danger and all those things, that it's going to be a really hard task, that if you fail, everyone is going to publicly shame you, which is insecurities. That's what I said in the beginning. It stems partially from insecurities. And I believe there were studies conducted that proved that people that have insecurities or that have a low self-esteem are more likely to procrastinate statistically. And this is why. Because basically you procrastinate because you fear that other people will judge you and shame you because you do a task that is hard, and then it's so hard that you do a bad job and then other people will judge you for it. So that's related to self-esteem. So if you don't have a low self-esteem and you have a high self-esteem, you're confident in yourself, you don't care about what people think, you're a lot less likely to procrastinate, even though it's really not obvious, but that's how it works. And then regarding placing importance on the tasks, if you place a lot of importance on the task, you're just naturally going to push it away from yourself, because importance creates energy. And this sounds like woo-woo bullshit, but statistically, there's no statistics like that, but just in my experience personally, when I think a task is really important, like it's a really big thing, like I need to do it, whatever, especially when there's no clear deadline, I keep pushing it forward. I mean, like this, I kept doing that in the past, kept pushing it forward because it was just so important. I didn't want to start doing it and then fuck it up, and then, everyone would judge me and that would be embarrassing. So the more important the task is, the more embarrassing it's going to be if I fail. And that's why I just kept pushing it forward. That's the psychology behind it. And that's also kind of stems from insecurities as well, because I cared what other people would think. And then lastly, it's kind of like a loop. Procrastination, you reinforce procrastination, and it's sort of like a self-fulfilling, self-reinforcing prophecy, because it's an endless cycle. And once you start procrastinating and you go harsh on yourself and you start feeling bad because you're procrastinating, that will place even more importance on the task, which will push you even further away from doing the task, which is going to reinforce the whole cycle. And then it's going to keep going and snowballing until eventually the task just looks impossible to you and you really don't want to do it. I think there was even a study that was conducted about regarding that as well. Students were reminded to complete an assignment or to study throughout the day there's like reminders. I think there was like watches that were wearing watches or something with reminders to study. And the students that just followed the reminders and studied gradually throughout the day, they were a lot less stressed, and they just felt like the tasks were easier. I'm pretty sure. I mean, the studying was a lot easier and was a lot easier for them to do. But people that pushed it forward and always snoozed the studying and just did it at the end of the day, they saw it as a like harder thing, and it was a lot more difficult for them to actually commit and do it. So basically, personally for me, I broke it down into 3 things. It's, first of all, placing a lot of importance on these things and just seeing them as like something really, really hard. Not hard, I mean, something really important, which is going to make it harder for you to actually do it, because you're going to feel even more responsibility, and you're going to be going to fear judgment from other people even more if you think it's an important task. Like, you're not going to procrastinate something that's really, really not important, something that's very easy to do, something that's no one's going to know about it. You're not even going to procrastinate it. So if you can convince your brain that it's not important, like, not in a way that you can just cut corners and do a bad job, but like, it's not important in a way that other people are not going to judge you. And even if they are, convince yourself that it's a good thing. That's something that I did as well. I convinced myself that if I fail publicly, if one of my projects comes out and I show it to people, to you guys, for example, and it completely miserably fails, I convinced myself that it's going to be good, because it will build a better like reputation for me, and people will see that I'm authentic and real, and I'm showing my failures as well, which has always been part of my personal brand. I have shown multiple stores that I have created on my other channel, e-com stores that failed when I was like 15, 16, you know. In fact, my first ever video that I posted online on YouTube, like in English on my other channel, was about me starting my first ever dropshipping store, and it failed miserably. And if you have that mentality that like, if you fail, it's actually good for you, then it's going to be a lot harder for you. You're going to be a lot less likely to procrastinate, because if you fail, then basically, your brain is just not going to see it as an embarrassing thing to fail. So it's not going to be pushing away the task like that you're procrastinating. And then the second thing is basically fear of failure, which also kind of ties to the first thing, placing importance on it. And you place importance and pushing it away from you because a lot of people are going to judge you. So that's also like fear of failure is kind of tied to it, because you fear failure mainly because, I mean, it's different for people, but probably mainly because you fear that other people will judge you. And that's where the fear of failure stems from. And then the third and final thing, I mean, there's more things to it, but that's just the things that I have kind of just picked out of everything for myself. The third thing is just, if you're harsh on yourself, if you're too harsh on yourself when you're procrastinating, then you're going to just reinforce the cycle, and it's not going to do you any good. Like, if you see that you're procrastinating, and then instead of like realizing that you're just a human and it happens and just moving on, you just keep feeling bad and feeling ashamed and whatever, feeling anxiety, then it's going to just lead to you being anxious and to you pushing the task even further, because you place a lot of importance on it and you see that it gives you anxiety indirectly. So when you start procrastinating and you notice it for the first time, you shouldn't be too harsh on yourself. You know, not like the fucking alpha men, gurus, online, red pill, whatever. In this case, psychologically, it's going to only make it worse for you. And you should instead just, like in my experience, you should just instead say that like it's totally normal, like it happens, whatever, not think anything of it. Obviously start working and not just like, okay, it's whatever, it's fine, just keep not working. Yeah, you should just not be too harsh on yourself and understand that you're just human. It happens. The best of the best people in the world procrastinate, whatever. Just forgive yourself and just start working now. And that's the best way to go about it. So yeah, this is just my experience. This is how I battle procrastination. Unfortunately, it happens to like a lot of people, probably most people in the world. And it's just totally natural. It's a normal thing. It's just about how you treat it. It's about how you actually like battle it. I could be out here on my YouTube channel saying like, I never procrastinate. I work 24/7. I'm a robot. And there were periods of time in my life like that. but sometimes I do procrastinate, and this is how I battle it, you know? It's totally natural, and it's just about what you do when it does happen to you. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. It's just my experience. I think this studies actually exist. That's from what I heard. I think it's some YouTube video. Don't fact check me on that, but I'm 95% sure that they exist. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video.